In this video, I'll be going over my pick for the top 5 best influenced items from Conquerors of the Atlas to craft for profit or as upgrades. My criteria will be items that have a low mod pool and several valuable mods that can roll. I'll talk about the desirable mods on these items and what I think you should use to craft them. Hello Exiles, this is Ryan from Behind Eyes Gaming and welcome to another Path of Exile video. If it's your first time here, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell to be notified when I post more Path of Exile content in the future. So, what are influenced items and how do you get them? Conqueror influenced items can be found from doing maps under the influence of the Conquerors of the Atlas. There are 4 main Conquerors, each with an associated influence type. There's technically a 5th Conqueror, but I'll touch on that shortly. The influence types are the same as the Conquerors: Crusader, Redeemer, Hunter, and Warlord. Once you've reached endgame maps and start finishing them, the Conquerors will start appearing naturally and you'll begin to encounter them on a regular basis. After chasing them through the Atlas, you'll fight the Conquerors directly inside their strongholds. The bosses themselves seem to drop influenced items at a fairly high rate, and after defeating a certain number of Conquerors, 16 Watchstones to be exact, you'll encounter the 5th Conqueror, Cirrus, as the new endgame boss, and Cirrus will drop a large amount of influenced items after the recent update, so learning this boss is a great way to increase the amount of influenced base items you can get and have available. Finally, before I get into the list proper, I want to talk about crafting methods. There's tons of ways to craft items to be profitable. I've been profitable chaos spamming for some of these mods, but luck is certainly a factor there. For some of the most valuable mods, I'll be talking about the ones that can really elevate an item's price without any other stats. Alt spamming can actually be a nice way to get some quick profit. Essences can be great, especially on bases that have a good variety of valuable mods to roll, increasing the chance of getting one great stat and a desirable influenced mod on the same item. Finally, fossils are probably the best way to go about this. Fossils will increase the chances of rolling particular mods and can also remove the possibility of rolling useless mods at the same time. I'll list the recommended fossils to craft with for each mod when I present the items. I don't talk about the Conqueror's exalts in this, as it's mostly meant for high-end crafting, not for making a quick profit, which is the intention of this video. These are very powerful, of course, but also very expensive and as such may require their own guide in the future. Number 5 on my list is the Warlord Influenced Wand. You won't see many weapons on my list as the mod pool is very large with a high amount of tiers, making rolling a great weapon much more difficult in comparison. That being said, the Warlord Wand gives so many options for fire damage based characters that I think it's worth considering. You can gain fire penetration both directly and through exposure with a good amount of these mods available. You can get Unholy Might on kill chance, which is a huge DPS boost to physical damage based characters such as Blade Vortex. You can also roll physical damage as extra fire, another nice more multiplier for such characters. And lastly, there's a huge potential burning damage mod pool that you can get for Fireball or Flame Blast characters and the like. The reason I rank this one at the bottom is because it requires to have these mods in combination with other good casting stats, which is difficult and pretty much why I don't include many weapons. That being said, the value of items with these mods in the right combination can be very profitable, and I would recommend using Deafening Essence of Anguish, Woe or Rage, or Scorched Fossils to craft these, as the former grant powerful mods that combine well with the influence mods, and the latter makes rolling the mods you want more likely. Number 4 is going to be the Hunter Influenced Body Armor. The Hunter Body Armor has an insane amount of great rolls for a variety of builds. One that I would like to talk about is specific to Chaos Inoculation builds, and that's the percent of physical damage from hits taken as Chaos Damage mod. That can roll up to 15%. You can actually combine this with a Delve helmet that provides up to 10% physical as Chaos and get good energy shield roll on both of them, and you'll have a full 25% physical damage mitigation, which is better than 6 endurance charges. That being said, life builds will want this influence as well, as the armor can roll percent increased maximum life up to 12%, which is quite nice. It can also roll additional curse and some nice regen mods. Additional curse in particular can be very profitable if it's rolled with good mods, and furthermore there is some other chase rolls. Spells or attacks have increased based critical strike chance is one that can roll on this. That's insanely powerful and a real value mod that can add on as well. So why, considering all the great mods, do I have this one ranked so low? Well, it's mostly due to the fact that in order to gain maximum profit from this one, you'll need a 6-link body armor. You can still get some nice currency just from rolling great mods on this without 6-linking it, but if you really want to rake in those exalts, you'll want a 6-link version. You can simply buy a 6-link body armor with decent stats and slam a Hunter's Exalt on it, but that's pretty pricey. Pristine fossils and serrated fossils are usually the way you want to go with this, unless of course you're going to go Energy Shield Fizz as Chaos. Then I would try a 2-socket Resonator with Aberrant and Dense. For essences, Deafening of Greed for life-based armor and Woe for energy shield-based would be the way to go. Number 3 is the Warlord's Influenced Helmet. This helmet has a fairly small mod pool for these roles, and it has a lot of interesting offensive roles that normally wouldn't be available in the helmet slot. Notably, the +1 maximum power charges mod. You can also roll global crit multi on this helmet, which is great in combination with the power charge, and some LE damage as well. For defenses, you can get percent physical damage taken as fire up to 10%, which is basically 7.5% physical mitigation for almost any build, as well as some percent health regen. The power charge along with a good life roll is enough to skyrocket this item to at least 100 chaos at the moment, and with other good mods it can go up even more. The power charge and crit multi in combination will turn this helmet into a multi-exalt item, and of course becomes even more valuable with other good stats. The crafting method I would recommend for this is to spam Deafening Essences of Greed or Woe, depending on whether you're crafting a life or ES based helmet. You can also chaos spam this one if you're feeling like a gamble. I personally don't think fossil crafting is particularly useful for this particular item though, so I won't be recommending any of those. Number 2 is the Warlord Amulet, which is basically just the Chieftain Ascendancy that you can wear around your neck. We've got great stats for strength stacking builds here, 1% increased damage per 15 strength as a prefix, and up to 12% increased strength as a suffix. We also have +1 to skill gems for both fire skill gems and physical skill gems available on this. These are extremely powerful on a great deal of builds as well. A nice amount of physical as extra fire damage is available, along with some percent increased damage per endurance charge and fire damage penetration, all really nice offensive mods. You can roll AoE on this monster as well. There's reduced mana reservation for anger and pride, as well as the probably less valuable determination and purity of fire. And lastly, we got up to 5% physical damage reduction and even some max block chance for those stacking block. This is a pretty crazy amulet to be sure. Crafting is interesting with this one. There's a ton of great options. Obviously, since we have so many fire mods, Scorched Fossils are very nice indeed. Jagged Fossils can also be nice as they increase the chance of Fizz's extra fire and the +1 physical gems chance, along with the physical damage reduction mod. For essences, you can do Anger for fire damage, Rage for the strength stacking potential, Scorn for some crit multi, Spite or Sorrow because people might need other attributes, or even Woe for some of that nice flat ES. Before we get into our number 1 slot, I just want to give a couple of honorable mentions that didn't quite make the list. The first is the Redeemer Influenced Ring. It has a fairly small mod pool and a particularly interesting prefix and suffix. The prefix is the cold damage per frenzy charge, which can be quite powerful on many builds that use a large amount of frenzies, generating a decent chunk of flat damage, particularly on a cold damage raider using something like Ice Shot or Frost Blades. The suffix I'm interested in is the curse enemies with frostbite on hit. Curse on hit items are always very nice, and a level 8 Frostbite on hit with good life is worth a decent chunk of change, even without other beneficial stats. The next honorable mention is the Warlord Influenced Gloves. Simply put, +1 frenzy charges is very powerful on a large variety of characters. It also offers potential for several types of damage in the glove spot, along with Culling Strike, which is pretty valuable for bossing if you don't want to waste a gemlink setup to get the cull, and if you don't have another source of it. Overall, it's not the highest potential craft, but it certainly does seem pretty nice for what it does do. And finally, our top influence item to craft. The hot item with a mod so many high-end builds are looking for that you'd be crazy to not try and craft it. The Hunter Influenced Boots. The great thing about these boots is that the most desirable mods are suffixes. On boots you want life and movement speed generally speaking, unless you want ES of course. First, we have to talk about the big one. Tailwind if you've dealt a crit recently. Tailwind gives 10% increased action speed, which applies to movement, attacking, casting, placing totems, throwing traps, and placing mines. That means this can apply to about any build that can crit. Currently, this mod alone is worth at least 100 chaos, even if you don't have any other beneficial stats. Add some life and even a small roll or crafted movement speed on there, and you've got yourself a multi-exalt item easily. Really great two-tone boots with this craft on it can be worth a boatload of currency. But that's not all this item has to offer. We have % increased strength again for those strength stacking builds. Forget using Alberon's Warpath. Although these can only offer up to 10% strength, you can get other good mods on these as well. You also have the very powerful deal damage faster mods for Ignites, Bleeding, and Poison. These are going to drastically improve the DPS for these damage over time ailments. I've personally crafted a few boots with life, movement speed, double resists, and either ignites or poisons deal damage faster this league, and they've sold quite well, or they served as a nice upgrade for one of my characters. For crafting these, Shuddering Fossils are the obvious choice, giving you the best shot to hit the Tailwind mod and move speed. If you want to use essences, Zeal, Greed, or Woe are probably the best options. You can also alt spam in Regal or Chaos spam these pretty nicely. If you get either movement speed or life with one of the desirable mods, you can potentially craft the other on and still have a very nice item, but make sure that you price check first to make sure it's worth the crafting cost. Let me know if you've had any success crafting some sweet influenced items in the comment section below. I always read my comments, even if I can't respond to them all. If you'd like to help support the channel, consider becoming a member by clicking the join button below, or checking out my Patreon in the description. This has been Ryan from Behind Eyes Gaming, and I will see you next time. Bye!